Maybe not. But, you know, she really instilled those principles and work ethic. So did my dad. He was a general contractor. So I grew up around construction and all those things. So all those things really taught me how to work hard. And when I applied those same principles that I had learned in sports and growing up to when I started my business. And, you know, and when I start something, I'm all in. I'm all in, and I take it to the extreme. Right? And I would work from dark till dark. I didn't care how many jobs were on the schedule. I would try and get as much done in one day as I could. But, you know, I was the guy, and I'll talk about that in a slide later about wearing all the hats. But there was something that I needed to do that was different than just working hard. That's what was ingrained in me. That's what I knew. And I knew that as I started going down this path of business, and Ryan and I became partners, and we went through that whole time where we talked about going through the Great Recession in our business and where we started to diversify. That's when my real education and the Ken coming out of his shell started to happen, because I started learning again. I had pretty much worked real hard from the time I started this business till the time that major event happened to all of us in this country, and I knew that I needed to do something different, and I had to change and adapt. And that's what going into business does, is the people who can change and adapt the fastest are the ones that are going to have success the fastest. And that's why we talked about the different phases of this business. You got startup, you got semi-passive, and you have passive. And we have examples of all of that, right? So I just knew that I wanted to get to the other side of this pain and suffering that I was going through as a result of the economic impact that we had gone through. And I knew that just working and being a good worker and working hard wasn't going to cut it. I knew I had to become proficient in all things business. I had to become Lord Business, right? And not the bad guy from Lego movie, but you know, the good side of him. But anyway, I just started devouring books and everything that I could, because I didn't get born into a family that knew everything about business. My dad learned how to do stuff like off the bag, he would read the shingle package that came, and he would read that, and then he would go and install shingles on somebody's house. You know, he didn't have somebody to train him in business. He just worked hard, and he had a certain level of success. And I knew that if I wanted to take this business to the vision that I started to develop within myself, I knew that I needed to become a leader that I wasn't at that time. And I had to make a lot of internal changes. Right? How many of you had to make some internal changes? Right? Doesn't it take some time sometimes for people to actually recognize, especially people close to us, right? To see that, wow, you know, these changes that you've made, you know, all of a sudden, you don't have these results that just, happen just because you read one book. Those internal changes take a long time to manifest sometimes. And that was, some of the case with me. I had to learn how to be really good with people. I'm typically, the black and white A personality. That's like a hard charger. And I had to learn how to refine some of my personality traits. So there was a lot of learning that had to occur in order for me to change and adapt to become a better version of myself. And that's the part of the story where I started learning these things. I started learning that there's other personalities besides Ken's personality, and that I might have to tone things down a little bit and talk a little softer and slower when I'm dealing with certain people out there when I'm doing a sale, or when I'm dealing with a critical conversation maybe, or a crucial conversation, which is a great book, by the way, with an employee, to smooth things over, to bring them over to my side, or to be able to have people shift their paradigm. You will shift your paradigm now, right? Jedi mind tricks. Learn those too. But along the way, it was about learning and growing, failing forward, having success, taking a few steps forward, taking a couple back. And that was it. That growth period for me really led me down the path of personal development. And what I would say is the success to me and to my success, to our success as partners in business, is that you have to reignite that. If you haven't done that yet within yourself, you need to figure out how to reignite that learning within yourself. Because great people are going to follow great people. And we have to be a great version of ourselves in order to attract great people into our organization. And I realized that I had a lot of things that I needed to take care of personally in order to be able to success that I envisioned that I wanted. Because, if I didn't do the work of the work, that was not going to be possible. So, not only did I read books, tons of books on personal development, I went to seminars, I started attracting people into our circle of influence as we got better. We sucked at networking. Ryan can tell you, when we first started, we went to the first, it was a builders association.
I remember.
It was in a room, it was bigger than this. And it was full of builders, right? In 2005, 6, everybody was building. Everybody coming out of work, everybody knew how to build a house or whatever. And we were thinking, we're going to pull up in our box truck, right? We pull up in our box truck, which was newly lettered. And we were like, we're going to take this event over. We're going to get all these contracts and contractors. We literally walked through the door, and everybody looked back away to their own little clique. And Ryan and I were just twiddling our thumbs until this guy, Joe Dickhut was his last name. Seriously, it's true name. And he owned Sherwood Modular Homes. And we hit it off with this guy, and he was just kind enough and nice enough, an older guy, to see 2 young guys in the business and extend himself to us. And from that point on is when Ryan and I started learning about networking. Some of you here might be maybe a little bit on the shy side and really can't be bothered maybe with talking to people or being in big crowds, but I was that guy. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to pick up the phone when people called. I just wanted to go out and do the work. But I realized that I needed to change those things in me and at least put on the game face like I'm doing right now. Just kidding. And I needed some refinement and stuff that I needed to do in order to become a better version of myself. And that's really what about the journey is in business. Ryan said earlier, it was about residual income in the beginning. And yeah, that's great and everything, but once you have money, what else is after that? And it's really that part of making a difference. But you can't make a difference in other people's lives until you make a difference in your own. And that's really the most important part of our story is that self-development and being able to invest in yourself is the best investment you're going to make. Even though you'll be making an investment in Brothers Gutters, the best investment you're going to make is into yourself. And because you've got to be able to offer the people that are coming on board that you're sharing your vision to of what you want to do in your territory, you've got to be able to offer them something. And really, at the end of the day, all of us have a huge responsibility because we're creating opportunity not just for ourselves, but we're creating opportunity not just for the customers that our products and services flow through, but we're creating opportunity for the people that we're going to be hiring. And those are the people that make things happen in your business.
That was really good. I'm just going to skip mine. Awesome. Well, as you can probably tell, there's typically, in any successful partnership, there's typically a visionary and an implementer. Which one's Ken? Visionary. All vision. And I get stuck figuring out how to do it, which is great. I love it. So real quick, me, Ryan Parsons, I have 5 kids, all under the age of 11 down to 2, 4 boys, 1 girl. So that's awesome. That definitely keeps me busy.
You don't have free time.
No, this is my free time. Don't tell them. Don't tell them.
Unless you bring them in.
Yes! And they've all seen what happens when I bring my children here. It's phenomenal. But what we did in the beginning, and to try not to go over some of the same ground, I took a job with my brother. I never planned on staying. I did not think, there was no, Ryan, we're going to be this someday. He wasn't imparting any type of vision at that point. He just wanted to work hard and get done early enough so he can go fishing or hunting and things like that. So the thing was, when I got involved, I found like I was able to do all the things that interested me and use my talents. I had some graphic design skills. Don't laugh, Kevin. And I had a bunch of stuff I could bring to the table, and Ken let me. That was really cool. So he let me operate in my talents and my gifts and my interests to help build his business. And eventually I became a partner. And when we were going through that phase, and there's name changes and all other stuff, but what I really wanted to focus on is from the time we started and the time I decided I wasn't going to look for a job. This is what I was going to do. I don't remember, I had a side business for a while doing graphic design and things like that. And then that went away. And I never looked back. I never was like, I don't know, maybe a little bit longer. for whatever reason, I just went full steam ahead, and me and my brother were going to build something bigger than ourselves. But what's crazy is, from the beginning, my role was always, how do we make it better? How do we systematize something that hasn't been systematized? And a lot of people think of their businesses, oh, well, you know, you can systematize McDonald's. You know, it's one of the most successful businesses that's run by 16-year-olds. It's insane because they have it down to a system. And we kind of bought into that after we were trying to do all that. We had really good instincts. And when I read the E-Myth, it opened up my mind. Basically, there's a quote in there. I believe it said, it's not people that fail, it's systems that fail. And we figured that if we could build a good enough system that people can plug themselves into, then we can have normal people. If you've ever had a business, everyone seems to get blessed with one or two extraordinary people that are just self-starters. You're like, if I could just clone them, my whole world would be better. But the reality is we don't always get that. But when we get to plug a normal person with average drive into a system, it's amazing what they can become and how successful. And eventually, when they get ignited, like Ken got ignited and we need to get ignited, all of a sudden then their trajectory goes off. And people that, like, you know, we talked about earlier, somebody who we probably would have fired in the first week or two, but we forgot to, ends up becoming a leader in the company because you're plugging them into systems so that they can succeed. So from basically 2007, when the idea was born of franchising this, to 2014, that's what we did. So this is not an overnight success. This is from 1999 to today, but we worked on getting something that could be franchisable. How do we systematize the field? How do we systematize, you name it, sales, the books, all of that stuff, and our system for you guys. And then from 2015 on, after we sold the first 2 franchises, we worked on perfecting that. And I don't think we'll ever perfect it. There's always something to do. There's always something like, that was great. We've got guys that are now becoming a lead installer in 3 months, or it used to be a year, then it was 6 months. Can we do it in 3 weeks? You know, how can we keep fast tracking this by giving more support, more materials, building a training room, hiring more staff, integrating our technology even better. We're moving to different platforms so that there's not as much, you know, you saw some sales trackers today. I'm hoping at some point no one has to fill that stuff out because it automatically populates. So we're always moving it forward for growth. And Danny, are you still in here? He has a quote, I'll let him say it, about how we act like the underdog or something.
That was one of the things that attracted me to the company was we are the big dog, but we still act like the underdogs.
Yeah, and we're always fighting to be better. And we're always going to fight for you guys, our staff, and everything to be better, to support you more, and do that. So that's kind of a little bit of an alternative version of the story, but that's our heart. Our heart is to just continue to make this better for you guys, easier and faster for you to grow. Our first franchise to hit $1 million, I think it was like 2 or 3 years. It was a while. These are not earnings claims. But that's getting.
They're in the past.
Yeah, I just don't remember. But now they're doing it in their first full season. One person did it in 11 months, I believe. So it's getting faster and faster, and we're going to continue to nurture and do that so that people have quicker success. You don't want to start where Ken and I did. It took us 15 years, basically, 12 years to 15 years to really get a model that was running without us. And then we've just been able to just continue to accelerate that for you guys in this room.